This man has a dream. Rik Breur wants to prevent thousands of tons of toxic chemicals going into the world's oceans each year. From pleasure craft, cruise liners, tankers and container ships. And he thinks he knows just how it can be done. By using a kind of fibre carpet for the boats. Not to make their cabins more comfortable, but to provide a protective coating over their hulls. The invention by Dutch materials scientist Rik Breur sounds bizarre, but it's revolutionary. Because his fibre wrap prevents so-called biofouling, the colonization of ships' hulls by marine organisms. Over months and years, algae, barnacles and mussels form ever denser layers on ships' hulls. But Breur's special carpet prevents this, and it uses no chemicals whatsoever. Marine organisms grow on all surfaces that are underwater, whether it's a ship, an oil platform, or the foundations of a wind turbine. To prevent this, special paints are usually applied. The coatings are poisonous, they contain biocides, and they slowly dissolve, releasing their toxins into the water. The poisons kill all life on the ship's hull and are distributed throughout the marine ecosystem. Copper is also washed out of the paints. The heavy metal is around 100 times more toxic for fish and crustaceans than it is for us humans. It's a creeping catastrophe. But Rik Breur's anti-fouling wrap can prevent it. Arriving at his invention wasn't that easy, though. It was out at sea that the Dutchman suddenly had the decisive idea. A keen diver, Rik Breur knew that marine organisms clung to the shells of crabs and mussels. Their smooth surfaces seemed to make this possible. Sea urchins, on the other hand, were free of algae and the like. Their spiky surfaces seemed to repel potential settlers. So Breur tried to develop a material that would mimic those spiky surfaces found in nature. He decided to use nylon fibres as spines, arranged on a substrate like small needles. But how could his idea be realized? The materials scientist found the right ingredients and methods in various European laboratories. The first requirement is a thin layer of adhesive, completely free of polluting chemicals, to use as the substrate for anchoring the fibers. But how could it be done? By resorting to a trick that researchers call electrostatic flocking. A high voltage is applied to a container with the fibers above the substrate. This creates an electric field. It flings the fibers towards the substrate and they land vertically, like spears, in the adhesive film. As soon as the glue has set hard, the anti-fouling wrap is ready for use. The big advantage of the flocking technique is that it's been practiced for years. This made it easy for me to create different variations in the lab regarding fibre length, thickness and density. I could experiment a lot and then put the best version relatively easily into commercial production. Of course, it had to be guaranteed that in rough seas, at speeds of 30 knots or more, the fibres wouldn't fall out of the anti-fouling wrap and pollute the oceans as microplastics. That's why the blade moves across the material thousands of times over. The wrap mustn't lose even a single fibre. The adhesive that fixes the wrap onto the hull was also a challenge. It now lasts for a guaranteed 5 years, far longer than any anti-fouling paint. At last it's ready, the self-adhesive fibre wrap that prevents biofouling without any need for toxic chemicals. Breur calls it Finsulate.
Finsulate is toepasbaar voor jachten.
Finsulate is primarily intended for yachts. Boat owners want environmentally friendly products that are non-toxic. But it's also suitable for large cargo ships and ferries. The material could even result in fuel savings of up to 40%. That's a lot of money. Because the growth on the gigantic ship hulls gets thicker and heavier by the day and worsens the vessel's hydrodynamic performance. This uses up extra fuel to the tune of 10 to 20 billion euros annually worldwide. Rik Breur patented his anti-fouling wrap very early on. This gave him and his one-man company the necessary credibility from his backers. So it's only a matter of time before large ships will be relying on Finsulate. Breur already has customers on every continent.
I
really enjoy the fact that a solution to a problem in society can be found through creativity. And that's my biggest motivation. And over years of evolution, nature has already solved all kinds of things that we humans can learn from. Ships out at sea and in harbours, but also oil rigs, wind turbines and other solid structures in the oceans can all benefit from Finsulate. All of it made possible by the sea urchin principle. It's a worldwide and seemingly inexhaustible market for Rik Breur's anti-fouling wrap.